I've been getting into woodworking for about a year. I've had a desire to do this for a lot longer than a year, but I've been getting into it for the last year, and one of the things that I found was a great thing to get started with was picture frames, because you don't have to have an insane number of tools to do them. They can be as simple or complex as you want, and so I made a couple of them, and this video is going to focus on me doing all the work necessary to make frames like this one here. This is made from real mahogany. It is a 5x3 picture frame, and it is actually done with a dark walnut mineral oil, Danish oil finish. Okay, so I have this piece of wood. It's actually mahogany that I'm going to be using for doing this project, and as you can see, it's not exactly in perfect shape. Well, that's okay, we can deal with that. This particular piece I got from Lumberyard is actually part of a 12-foot long piece, 6 inch wide by 1 inch thick, which of course means it's really something more like 3/4 of an inch by 5.5, because God knows we can't actually give people what they're asking for. No, they have their reasons for numbering it this way, and but I got this piece, and I'm going to actually use this for doing the picture frame. And a 6-foot long piece that's 5.5 inches wide would seem like overkill for doing a 3x5 picture frame, but I'm actually not going to use it all for just one picture frame, and I'm not going to be making it a 5.5 inch thick frame. What I am going to do is to cut off about a foot of this, and I'm going to save it. I'm not going to get rid of it, and the reason is I have another project that I should be able to use this castaway chunk for. So I'm just going to cut it down, and I am going to put that piece aside so I can use it later. So I've got my 2-foot long board here that I cut, and the reason for cutting it this way, I'm actually going to use this to make a couple of frames, and approximately I'm going to make strips out of this that are 1.5 inches thick. Now 24 inches comes from the fact that I'm going to be doing 3x5 frames, and the pictures are 3x5. The frames actually of course have to be a bit larger to wrap around them. So I'm leaving myself an inch of space, so 3x5 would end up being 5x7 for the sides. 5x7 being 12 inches, 12 inches times 2, well, you can do the math, So this is going to be the piece that we're going to do it for it, but before I can use it, I'm going to actually have to take this to my table saw, and I'm going to have to rip it down. One of the trickiest things that I have to deal with currently in my shop is the fact that, well, I don't have a lot of space, and a lot of my tools are actually meant to be contractors' tools, not for a permanent wood shop. And for example, this table saw, it's a terrific saw, but number one, it doesn't have some of the features that you normally would find for doing woodworking, and number two, it's not on a mobile base. So for me to actually make use of it, I have to set it up wherever it is that I'm going to do the work, and then if I need to work on something else and I have to move it, I can't just take it on a rolling cart and slide it over to another section of my basement. I got to collapse the whole thing, act like I'm storing it, move it over, and then do the work there. One of the things I hope to change with my Kickstarter project is this saw. It's been a good saw, but not quite the one that I need for this sort of work. So I set my table saw up with the rib fence so that it is 1.5 inches to the right of the blade, and that means that I'll get 1.5 inch long strips, or 1.5 inch wide strips rather, that will be perfect for doing the cuts for the frame. If you're interested in doing woodworking yourself, I can't stress this enough. Safety is such a super critical thing. So you have tools like this that sometimes seem like they get in the way. features of your saws, don't remove them unless absolutely necessary. It's just not a good idea, and these things will save your life. They'll save your digits, that's for sure. Alright, so I've got this set up, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out the strips. And this extra cutoff piece I'm going to hold on to because, as I said, I do have a few other projects that I'm working on, and this actually might come in handy. Plus, mahogany is actually a really nice wood. It's very sturdy, it's very strong, as you can see. I mean, I'm trying really hard to bend it, and of course it's not. It's very durable, but it's actually pretty lightweight considering. So I'm going to hold on to this piece because you never know when it might come in handy. So with this wood, I'm going to be running it through my table router over here, and I am going to use a 45-degree angle bit, and what I'm going to do is make a chamfered edge here and here, so it's going to be a nice 45-degree angle going all the way down the length of the board. So the results of this work with the router table is to give me a profile that looks kind of like this. I reset the fence on my table saw so that I have 1 inch of clearance from the fence to the blade. That's going to let me cut off the chamfered edge and leave a decent size amount of edge at the bottom, which is going to be used for the next part of the process. So by doing that, I now actually have this piece of wood, which is 1 inch wide, and I have this other piece which is 3/4 of an inch wide and has the profile cut into it like that. Okay, so it's back to the router table now, and we're going to take the pieces of wood and we're going to run them over a 3/4 inch straight bit. And I have some pretty inexpensive bits. They aren't exactly what I'd call high quality, so it wouldn't surprise me if I actually have to do a little bit of work to run these through 2 passes. It shouldn't be much of an issue, but it's always tricky because this is a pretty small piece of wood that we're working with. So you can see the channel I put into this thing, and that's the right depth, but well, unfortunately, the piece isn't quite fitting in there the way I want it to, so we're going to have to just hedge it just a little bit more. Perfect. just perfect. Now, as a point of reference, it is possible to actually play around quite a bit with the profiles of router bits when you're actually doing something like this. And this technique for making a picture frame was actually learned from watching Steve Ramsey, a guy from California who runs a website that I started learning from called Woodworking for Mere Mortals. Steve actually produced this technique using roundover bits as opposed to chamfer bits. But given that I was doing something that's a little bit different and I hope would come out with a unique profile, I decided to experiment a little bit with one of these. And I actually ran it through with my V-bit, which is essentially it's just a little inverted V like this. And the result is kind of interesting looking. I kind of like this. You can see there, it's actually got a nice little groove. There you go. Nice little groove angled in there. It looks kind of nice. And you know, when you stack it up with the actual frame piece itself, you get a profile that looks like this. I think that's pretty good. And I'm not going to do all of them this way. I'm only going to do one of them this way. But I figured it was a good experiment to try out and see what comes out of it. And unfortunately, woodworking, well, it doesn't always come out perfect, especially when you're learning. And, well, I made a little bit of a mistake. It's kind of hard to see probably from there. I don't know, maybe it's not. But unfortunately, this particular piece of wood got a little bit roughed up when I was putting it through. And the piece doesn't sit in there quite as evenly as I'd hoped. But I'm actually going to still use this one to make it to a frame, and the reason that I'm going to do that is practice. Practice makes perfect, and you have to figure that sometimes you're going to lose a piece or two, so I'm not too worried about it. It's only one frame, and hey, this is experimentation, right? Okay, so I set up a stop block here on my miter saw or chop saw, and I'm going to use that. It's set just a little bit over 6.5 inches, and I'm going to use that to kind of guide me so that I can cut the long pieces to even sizes. Then when I'm done with that, I'm going to adjust it, and I can use that to make sure I trim down the short sides the exact same way. And now I'm just going to cut the 45-degree angles that will let me actually turn it into a frame. And this part I'm going to kind of eyeball. And there, just dry fit it for now, is the resulting frame. Now I'm not going to lie, this last thing is really kind of arguably my least favorite part of the process for making a picture frame, and that is gluing this thing up and getting it into permanent form. Primarily because the band clamp I have is well, not exactly the greatest in the world. In fact, like it's one of those $5 ones that you can get at some of your knockoff hardware stores, but you know what, I can still make it work. I've done it before, I can do it again. It's a little bit of a challenge. And the results of this project are to get a picture frame that looks like this. Now that this is done, I'm going to just remove this frame out, and this dried for a while. Probably probably about 4 or 5 hours, although you don't actually need to dry it for that long. My guess is that you could probably get away with it for probably about an hour tops, and that would probably be sufficient. But there you go. There's the actual frame completed, and it's solid. Not going to come apart, that's for sure. So next thing I'm going to do is just finish it off with a little bit of Danish oil to kind of bring out some more color into it. So I'm going to use Danish oil, which this was another little trick I picked up from watching a couple of guys. Actually, Steve Ramsey, again, from Woodworking from Your Mortals, is one example. Lenny Shaughnessy, who does a simple design of Ocala. A few others as well, but this particular finish that I have is a nice dark one. It's dark walnut, and I'm just going to apply that on with an old cloth, and we'll see what happens. And there we have it, the finished picture frame. As I said, this is not stained. This is just done with Danish oil, dark walnut. So I might actually take it and do one more quick coat of sanding with it, one more quick pass of sanding, and then maybe another coat of Danish oil just to finish touching it up a little bit. But not too bad, considering it's my first time trying to use this stain. So that would be an example, however, of the sort of projects that I will be looking to do in the near future. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate all of you who have been following me already on Facebook, and I know this is my first video on YouTube, so I do appreciate you coming and taking a look. While I'm at it, this is just a quick plug for my Kickstarter project. A lot of you already know I started up the project. It launched about 9 days ago, and so far, unfortunately, we haven't had too much activity, but I'm hoping that's something going to change now that there's some examples of the type of work that I'm going to be doing. If you can, please kick in a contribution, whatever you can manage. Even if it's only $1, you will get mentioned on the Woodworking by Greg website, which is woodworkingbygreg.com. If you go for a little bit more, $25, you'll get one of those picture frames, the 3x5s. Higher amounts will get some of the bigger picture frames like this one, which is 8x10. This is actually the first one I did. You can see the profile to it, a little bit different than the small ones that I just did. But if you're interested in supporting me through this, I guarantee there are some nice things that are going to be coming. I am going to be doing bandsaw boxes very shortly. In fact, I'm going to be doing a video for that as well. And of course, the nice higher-end jewelry boxes. When spring comes around, I know I'll also be doing the planters. And again, if you can contribute anything for it, I promise there are rewards coming for all of those. And I have really gotten into woodworking over the past year. I really enjoy it, but I do need help to be able to really get going with it. And I'd like to be able to help people out with it too. I'm not doing this to try to run any sort of major business or anything. I'm doing this to try to be able to provide people around here, people anywhere really, with the ability to get good products, good things that are made from real solid wood. Some other products too that go along with it, but as I said, they're really more a matter of projects. And I'm doing this whole thing to try to raise the money so I can help people out with that and do that. So if you can, please stop by the Kickstarter. Whatever you can contribute to help out. Remember, if it doesn't succeed, it doesn't reach its goal, you won't get charged anything. And certainly in the future, I'll be offering these sorts of things up for purchase through other channels as well. But I'd really like to be able to make these products happen from here, and I'd really like to be able to make this Kickstarter a success, and I need your help to do it. Thanks for tuning in. Please keep an eye out. There will be another video coming soon, which will be the bandsaw box project. Thank you very much. Have a great night.